Hello, General Hospital spoilers will reveal. The latest developments surrounding the events in Port Charles suggest that Willow is once again standing on the edge of a dangerous collapse of secrets. For months, she has carefully constructed a version of reality that allowed her to maintain control over the narrative surrounding Drew's mysterious medical condition. To the outside world, Drew's sudden paralysis appeared to be the tragic result of a catastrophic medical episode, something unpredictable and cruel that struck without warning. Yet behind closed doors, the truth has been far more disturbing. The illusion that Willow created depended on silence, manipulation, and the careful removal of anyone who came too close to uncovering what really happened. Now that fragile illusion is beginning to fracture, and the person standing closest to that crack in the wall is Kai Taylor. As he quietly pieces together fragments of evidence that never quite aligned with the official story, Willow realizes that the carefully guarded secret surrounding Drew's condition may no longer be safe. The moment Kai starts asking the wrong questions, the entire foundation of Willow's deception begins to tremble, and in Port Charles, a trembling foundation rarely collapses quietly. Kai never intended to become the center of a conspiracy. When Willow approached him with an offer to remain on the team and work under the authority of Congresswoman Kane, the proposal appeared to be a professional opportunity rather than a trap. Accepting the position placed him closer to the heart of Willow's world, but he initially believed that proximity would give him the chance to protect Drew rather than endanger himself. There was something unsettling about the official explanation of Drew's condition, a collection of small inconsistencies that refused to fade from Kai's mind. Medical reports that seemed incomplete, behavioral changes in Willow that hinted at deeper desperation, and a series of subtle moments where Willow's control over Drew appeared less like devotion and more like possession. Kai's instincts told him that Drew was not simply a victim of a medical tragedy. Something about the situation felt staged, constructed, almost theatrical in its precision. The more Kai observed Willow's behavior, the more the possibility emerged that Drew's paralysis might not be the result of an illness at all, but the consequence of a deliberate act designed to silence him. Trina Robinson quickly recognized the danger growing around Kai long before he allowed himself to acknowledge it. From the moment Willow brought Kai into her orbit, Trina sensed that he was stepping into a web far more complicated than a political workplace or a personal loyalty to Drew. Trina had already witnessed how ruthless Willow could become when cornered. The woman who once appeared gentle and conflicted had transformed into someone capable of chilling calculation, someone who protected her version of reality at any cost. Trina repeatedly warned Kai that remaining close to Willow was a dangerous gamble, especially now that Willow had already escaped accountability for the shooting incident that nearly ended Drew's life. To Trina, Willow's freedom was not a sign of innocence, but evidence that Willow had mastered the art of manipulating perception. The deeper Kai became involved in the situation, the more Trina feared that he was placing himself directly in the path of someone who had already proven she could erase obstacles without hesitation. Despite those warnings, Kai could not simply walk away. His concern for Drew continued to grow as he watched the man's condition remain eerily unchanged. A genuine stroke or neurological collapse would normally present signs of gradual change, moments of recovery or deterioration that followed some medical logic. Instead, Drew remained trapped in a rigid state that seemed almost engineered. Kai began quietly reviewing medical documentation and examining timelines, noticing subtle irregularities that suggested external interference rather than natural illness. The pattern that slowly emerged pointed toward a terrifying possibility. Drew might be trapped inside his own body because someone deliberately placed him there. As Kai assembled these fragments of truth, the shadow of Willow's involvement became impossible to ignore. Each new discovery pushed Kai closer to confirming what no one else had dared to say out loud, that Willow herself might have orchestrated Drew's paralysis in order to control him completely. For Willow, the realization that Kai was approaching the truth triggers a wave of cold urgency. She understands better than anyone how fragile her carefully engineered situation truly is. The moment someone proves that Drew's paralysis was induced rather than accidental, everything collapses. Her freedom disappears, her political influence evaporates, and the carefully rebuilt identity she has constructed in Port Charles crumbles into scandal and criminal exposure. Willow has survived so far because no one possessed enough evidence to challenge the story she presented to the world. But Kai represents a different kind of threat. He is not merely suspicious. He is methodical, determined, and emotionally invested in Drew's survival. That combination makes him unpredictable. In Willow's mind, allowing Kai to continue investigating would be equivalent to allowing her own downfall to unfold step by step. Faced with that terrifying prospect, Willow begins contemplating the same desperate strategy that once secured Drew's silence. As tension rises around this hidden conflict, the possibility emerges that Kai himself could become the next victim of Willow's extreme measures. If Willow truly used a specialized paralytic compound to immobilize Drew, the existence of that substance represents both her greatest weapon and her most dangerous secret. Should Kai confront her directly with what he has discovered, Willow may feel that she has only two choices left: confess and lose everything, or ensure that Kai can no longer expose the truth. In a town like Port Charles, where secrets often lead characters down increasingly dark paths, the idea that Willow might resort to another injection is no longer unthinkable. If Kai becomes aware that Drew's paralysis was intentionally induced, the moment of discovery could place him directly in Willow's crosshairs. What began as an attempt to protect Drew may ultimately transform Kai into the next silent witness trapped behind unmoving eyes, leaving the people around him to wonder whether the same mysterious fate that befell Drew has now claimed another victim. The situation surrounding Willow grows darker with every passing day, as the truth behind Drew's condition remains hidden beneath layers of calculated deception. While the public narrative continues to frame Drew as a tragic victim of a devastating stroke, the reality unfolding behind closed doors is far more sinister. Willow has not simply been caring for a husband who suffered a medical catastrophe. She has been actively maintaining his paralysis. The injections she administers are part of a carefully orchestrated routine designed to keep Drew completely immobilized while convincing everyone around them that his condition is natural and irreversible. The drug she uses is not an ordinary sedative, but a specialized compound engineered to mimic the neurological symptoms of a stroke so perfectly that even experienced doctors struggle to question the diagnosis. As long as Drew remains trapped inside his silent, unmoving body, Willow retains total control over the narrative surrounding him, and that control has become the foundation of her survival. Yet Willow's scheme is not entirely her own creation. Standing behind the curtain of this elaborate manipulation is Jens Sidwell, the man who provided the substance that made the entire deception possible. Sidwell understands exactly how dangerous Willow's situation is, and that understanding is precisely what gives him power over her. The drug he supplied was never intended to be a simple tool of convenience. It was a leash. With every injection Willow administers to Drew, she sinks deeper into a web of dependency that Sidwell controls. He possesses knowledge that could destroy her reputation, her freedom, and her future if it ever became public. This imbalance of power ensures that Willow cannot simply abandon the plan even if fear begins to consume her. Sidwell watches the situation unfold with a cold sense of amusement, fully aware that Willow is now bound to him by the very crime she believed would secure her independence. From Sidwell's perspective, the situation appears comfortably under control. He believes that the illusion surrounding Drew's illness is strong enough to withstand scrutiny, and he is convinced that no one inside Willow's orbit has the courage or determination to challenge it. Sidwell views the people around Willow as predictable and easily manipulated, assuming that sympathy, confusion, and professional boundaries will prevent anyone from digging too deeply into Drew's medical mystery. In his mind, Drew's paralysis has already been accepted as tragic fact, and the people closest to him will eventually move on with their lives while Willow continues to play the role of the devoted wife. What Sidwell fails to fully grasp is that deception rarely remains perfectly sealed forever, especially when someone with both curiosity and moral conviction begins to notice the cracks forming beneath the surface. That person may very well be Kai. Unlike the others who have accepted Drew's condition at face value, Kai carries a lingering awareness of Willow's past actions and the troubling patterns that seem to follow her. He remembers the moments when Willow's behavior crossed lines that others chose to ignore, and those memories make it difficult for him to accept the official explanation of Drew's sudden collapse. The more time Kai spends around Willow and the fragile world she has constructed, the more he senses that something about the situation is deeply wrong. There is a tension in Willow's behavior that cannot be disguised forever, a subtle panic that flickers beneath her attempts to appear calm and compassionate. Kai's presence in this storyline is not accidental. The narrative itself seems to be steering him closer and closer to the truth that both Willow and Sidwell are desperate to keep buried. Because of that growing suspicion, Kai may ultimately become the one person capable of proving Sidwell wrong. While Sidwell assumes that no outsider will risk interfering with Willow's dangerous secret, Kai's sense of responsibility toward Drew refuses to fade. His involvement is driven not by curiosity alone, but by the belief that Drew deserves justice and the chance to reclaim control of his own life. If Kai continues following the trail of inconsistencies surrounding Drew's illness, he could uncover the horrifying reality that Drew's paralysis is not a medical tragedy, but a carefully maintained prison. Should that truth finally surface, the fragile alliance between Willow and Sidwell will begin to crumble. And in that moment, the same courage that Sidwell dismissed may become the very force that threatens to expose one of the darkest conspiracies Port Charles has seen in years. The growing tension surrounding Drew's mysterious condition is beginning to push Kai closer to a truth that few people in Port Charles are prepared to face. Although many around him have accepted the official explanation that Drew's paralysis was caused by a devastating medical event, Kai has never been completely convinced by that narrative. His instincts have been quietly warning him that the pieces of this story do not fit together the way they should. Kai possesses a sharp analytical mind, and when he focuses on a problem, he has an unusual ability to connect details that others overlook. The inconsistencies surrounding Drew's situation continue to linger in his thoughts, forming a puzzle that refuses to remain unsolved. Every small observation, every subtle reaction from Willow, and every strange medical detail surrounding Drew's condition slowly builds toward a conclusion that Kai can no longer ignore. The closer he moves toward that conclusion, the more dangerous his position becomes. One of the most haunting aspects of the situation is Drew's silent struggle to communicate the truth. Though his body remains trapped in a state of paralysis, his mind is still fully aware of the nightmare unfolding around him. Sidwell has already warned Drew to stop attempting to send silent signals or coded messages to anyone who might notice them. The threat behind that warning was unmistakable, yet Drew's desperation has not disappeared. Even in his limited condition, he searches for ways to alert someone who might understand what he is trying to say. Kai may be the one person capable of recognizing those subtle signals. A carefully timed blink, a slight movement of the eyes, or a moment of intense focus when Kai speaks about certain topics could be enough for Kai to realize that Drew is attempting to communicate something urgent. If Kai begins asking the right questions, those fragile signals could slowly form a silent conversation between them. As Kai continues observing Drew, he may eventually gather enough courage to investigate further. His suspicion that Willow might be responsible for Drew's condition grows stronger as he studies the unusual details surrounding Drew's treatment. Kai begins to consider the possibility that Drew's paralysis is not the result of illness, but of chemical manipulation. That suspicion leads him to search the areas where Willow keeps medical supplies and private belongings. If Kai discovers a hidden storage case containing vials or syringes that do not match any official treatment plan, the pieces of the puzzle could suddenly fall into place. Standing beside Drew's immobilized body, Kai might hold up one of those mysterious vials and silently ask whether this is the substance responsible for keeping him trapped. In that fragile moment, Drew may respond in the only way he can, offering a desperate confirmation through the faint movement of his eyes or a slow nod that carries enormous meaning.